Jalen.
Give the people what they want.
We have Michael Jeffrey Jordan entering the world of NASCAR. We have the Nuggets and the Lakers game 3 tonight, but we start with where week 2 ended in the NFL, and that is with the Las Vegas Raiders beating the New Orleans Saints in an upset. Jalen, how impressive was this Raiders offense?
Shout to the Raiders. And you know we have our open invite from the owner and John Gruden to take the show there and represent, get some behind the scenes of what it makes what it takes to make a 2-0 team tick. When they signed John Gruden to that big check, a lot of responsibilities came with that. When you give your coach $100 million, you have to build something. And they did that via the draft. Jacobs is balling. Bell cow running back, able to catch it out of the backfield. He's been terrific. Their tight end Waller's been terrific. They got young pieces that they can now build around. Derek Carr's still the same quarterback. He's healthy. Still the same quarterback. And he's looking a lot better. So shout out to the Raiders for being 2-0.
Well, there was some focus on the Raiders opening their stadium with the win against the Saints, but a lot of the focus today, and rightfully so, is on the play of one Drew Brees. He looked okay in a win against the Bucs in week 1, but he did not look like himself at all against this Raiders team last night. Jalen, what do you think about Drew Brees sputtering out of the gates here in 2020?
So the last couple of seasons, I saw Drew Brees lose, I guess, the velocity on his fastball and throwing the football. It do look like it's some lollipops every now and then, but that's what happens when you're in your 40s. But you know what else happens when you get a little older? You get used to your security blankets. And you know what wasn't there yesterday? Michael Thomas. And he only caught 147 footballs. So I am not going to panic about Drew Brees and his inability to be productive consistently against the Raiders. But I have seen some decline in him as a quarterback, which is why their roster carries 3 of them in case there's an issue with a 40-year-old quarterback at some point of this season.
Yes, we all watched Teddy Bridgewater step in last year and do great with that Sean Payton-led offense. But one thing I am going to say is this, is while I'm not going to overreact in week 2 about Drew Brees' performance and start looking at Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill to take over, if I'm wearing a winter coat and my kids' Halloween costumes are in the trash and he's still playing like this, I will start looking at Jameis Winston. If you start thinking about who's coming over for Thanksgiving and what you're going to cook, I will start looking at Drew Brees if this continues and say perhaps he should transition to the next phase of his career, which is not playing football. But in week 2, I'm not going to overreact, just like you. You did briefly mention Waller, who deserves a lot of flowers today on this Tuesday. If you don't know his story, he battled addiction, got back on the field, and not just on the field, he was thriving last night at the tight end position. What do you think about his 12 receptions last night?
See, these are the type of decisions you make as an organization that ultimately when you believe in a young man and it pays off to where his decision-making can meet up with his talent, now you have something special that becomes a diamond in the rough that you can now build around. His ability to not only catch 12 footballs, Jacoby, but at a very, as a very young player, the maturity that he and Jacobs have shown me is really impressive, how they bring it down after down. Because they're relying heavily on those 2 guys, and they're delivering.
I also want to say this before we move on. The stadium looked dope. The stadium looked dope. I can't lie. No fans in there.
We going.
It just looked cool.
We going.
It just looked cool. The sunlight coming in, that big torch thing at the end, it looked mean. It didn't fit the Raiders franchise in a way that I really, really enjoyed with all of the black I saw in the stadium.
David Jacoby. I got John Gruden's numbers in my phone, and we have an open invite to go give the people what they want in Vegas.
Jalen, I would love to go to Vegas, but I'm not going to Vegas unless someone sticks me with a vaccine because I can't socially distance when I get there. I can't stay out the bars and casinos. I can't handle myself when I get there. So until someone sticks me in the arm with a vaccine, I'm not taking up that very gracious invite from Coach Gruden. Moving on to tonight's Game 3 in the Western Conference Finals between the Lakers and the Nuggets. The Nuggets are looking to come back in a series as they have all year long. What is the key to the Nuggets getting back in this series?
Super teams in the NBA currently don't exist once KD left the Warriors. And this year has been dominated by the conversation as it relates to dynamic duos. Yep. And the Lakers have two all-NBA performers in LeBron James and Anthony Davis, who just made a game-winning three-point shot. The Nuggets has an all-NBA performer in Jokic. They need Jamal Murray to be dominant if they're going to win the game. He's got to give him a 35 game, Jacoby, where he's really efficient. He's making threes. He's pulling out the bow and arrow, because now all of a sudden that really changes the dynamic of their offensive attack. And I know how much you love this dynamic duo. Murray has the potential. He's shown it in these playoffs. He has to have a big game unless they're going to go down 3-0.
It feels like Murray led this team against the Jazz in round one. You remember all those points he was putting up, those nights, going back and forth with Donovan Mitchell. And I said to myself, wow, I really thought this Nuggets team would go as far as Jokic could carry them, but perhaps it is Murray who's going to carry them this season through the playoffs. Then they played the Clippers. And then Murray's performances were going up and down and up and down. Against these Lakers team, he hasn't been that scorer that he was against the Jazz. They will need that kind of contribution, because me and you both know, what Jokic is going to do. Jokic going to flirt with a 30, 10, and 10 triple-double. It's gonna be that. It might be 28, 8 and 7. It might be 36, 14 and 7.
Those
it's
big
be
numbers.
Right around 30, 10, and 10. It's consistent too. It's very consistent. But Murray, he scores 50 sometimes. He scores 15 sometimes. He needs to show up in this series. But one thing about these Nuggets is you just can't count them out. You really cannot. And I've been focused on this Lakers team that I picked to win the championship before the season started. And one of the questions we had going into the bubble and into these playoffs was, who's going to be the number 3? Like, who's going to be that third person on the Lakers that they can rely on? And we talked about Danny Green, and we talked about KCP, and we talked a lot about Kyle Kuzma. But you know what? We've identified who the number 3 sort of performer is on the Lakers, and it's playoff Rondo. Rajon Rondo, after the hand injury healed, he came into the bubble, he quarantined, he got onto the floor, and look at how he's performed versus his regular season numbers. Rondo has been so good here in these playoffs, because especially when LeBron James sits, and LeBron James has played less minutes than he's normally asked to in these playoffs. And a lot of that has to do with the way that Rondo can run the floor and create offense. When LeBron James is on the floor during the regular season, it just looked like they didn't know what to do. They would kind of give it to somebody to dump it into Anthony Davis for him to go isolation. But with Rondo running the offense, it looks much more fluid. They share the ball. And again, you see the way that he kicks up his performance coming off an injury, mind you, between the regular season and the playoffs. I've been so impressed by Rondo that he's making up for some of the not performing up to expectations from Kuzma and from Green and from KCP, who have been up and down from game to game. Now, Jalen, there's something else I want to talk to you about. And it's the play of Anthony Davis and LeBron James. They're so good and so consistent that you can just mark them down for between 50 and 60 points every night. But you pointed out something about LeBron. Seems like he picks his spots. Detail what you mean by that.
Well, he's at an advanced stage of his career, in his 17th season, 35 years of age, and he has a young thoroughbred that he can lean on that he's been doing basically all season, that led the squad in points, rebounds, blocks, and steals, and just made a game-winning 3 in a playoff game. That's Anthony Davis. This is why you want him to join you in Los Angeles. Last year, LeBron got hurt late, and they didn't make the playoffs. This year, they're going to win the championship. That dynamic duo is that good. So LeBron does not have to go 35 minutes and try to score 40 points every game. It's, they need me in the first quarter. They need me in the first half. They need it in the third quarter. And so now that he's able to pick his spots, you have KCP double-figure game, Kuzma double-figure game, Danny Green double-figure game. You talked about Rajon Rondo and his contributions, Caruso and his contributions. As long as both of those guys are getting me around 60, it allows one of those other guys that you just highlighted to have a good game and put them over the top.
I was watching game 2, and I saw LeBron had 20, not just in the first half. He had 20 with like 5 minutes to go in the first half. And I said, ooh, are we going to get one of those 40-point performances from LeBron James? We're going to get one of those triple-doubles, 35, like 11 and 11 from LeBron James? LeBron James is like, Nope, I'll be load managing in the second half. He load manages. He just does it in game. He's like, oh yeah, y'all got my 20 in the first half. I'm gonna let AD carry the second half, and I'll be fresh for game 3. That is how he does.
That's a vet.
And I do want to say one
Seasoned
thing.
vet.
I want to say one thing about Alex Caruso is I'm not going to sit here and celebrate him like he is going to be the next Michael Jordan the way that other people do, because they just do that because of his hair. If Alex Caruso had Pat Connaughton's hair, we would not be talking about him the same way. I believe it's unfair the way that he gets celebrated. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he is follically challenged. Alex Caruso, I respect you so much that I'm not going to act like you are going to be an all-star next year just because of your hairline. Jalen, I know hairlines are very important to you. What do you think of that?
You and I both know for national consumption, we'll talk a lot about guys and their mustaches and stuff like that. So I appreciate what you're saying about Caruso. I'll just leave it at that.
Jalen, we now have some big news in the world of NASCAR. Michael Jordan and Danny Hamlin are forming a single-car NASCAR team, and that car will be driven by Bubba Wallace. What is the significance of this news for the sport of NASCAR?
2 words that I've been using really frequent as we've been talking about the fight for social justice, Jacoby. You got to be the greatest basketball player of all time as a black guy to own a team. You now take that money at NASCAR, who now decided that they're not going to fly Confederate flags. I guess we should congratulate them. Now you buy a team. You and your partner, of course, you're going to hire the only black driver. Let me see. How many black drivers? Oh, the only black driver in Bubba Wallace, right? And so I'm very happy that Michael Jordan's in a position to continue to get some reparations and some field position for black people and using his money to do so.
It is time for some very important news that matters. Jalen, I know you care a lot about wings. You order wings pretty much every time I go to eat with you, and there is a new type of wing on the market: peanut butter and jelly wings. Your thoughts as a wing analyst?
I like peanut butter and jelly, but not with my wings. That sounds like my stomach gonna be hurting. I don't do really good with the sugar and the jelly. Period. No, I'm good. I want to keep those relationships separate. I don't think we should mix the two.
Peanut butter and jelly is great. Wings are great. Let's not mix the two. Milk is great. Whiskey is great. We don't mix the two. That's all I have to say about that. And Jalen, I look forward to eating some of your lemon.
But I will try them though. Hey, yo, send me some of those. South Seaport, New York City. Please send me some of those. Well done.
Are you just asking for some free wings? This is just go to break.
Jalen and Jacoby is brought to you by.
Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. It is time for the segment where Jalen decides what we discuss. It is Keep It Moving. If you want to discuss the topic, say hit the brakes. If not, we will keep it moving. We start with this. NBA executives have come together and decided who the best player in the league is under 25. And they picked Luka Doncic. To me, it is Doncic in a landslide. My question for you is, looking at this list, who is your number 2?
Well, first and foremost, looking at this list of terrific performers, 25 and under, just acknowledges for me the league is in great shape moving forward, because all of those guys are franchise max caliber players and quality human beings. Each one of them, Jacoby. And I agree with you. Luka Doncic is the number 1 choice. Number 2 choice for me is Jason Tatum. But I like what I'm seeing from Donovan Mitchell. I think he and Booker are kind of rounding it out. You can't overstate what Ja Morant meant to Memphis. Like, these are all franchise players. And so just think about it. Zion went number 1 and didn't win Rookie of the Year. And they didn't make the playoffs. And he's still a fantastic prospect. The league is in good hands moving forward with all of those guys.
Absolutely. I would probably pick Tatum as well because of what he can do on the defensive end, but you can't go wrong with any of those players. Moving on, NFL coaches are all not all of them, but most of them, or a lot of them, are $100,000 lighter in the pocket. Would you like to know why? Keep moving.
Everybody trying to adjust to being at work while wearing a mask at the same time. Keep it moving.
We keep it moving. We keep it moving.
Wear your mask, gentlemen.
As Mike and ladies, as Mike Tyson heads into an exhibition fight against Roy Jones Jr., his trainer
Hit the
has
brakes.
his sights set on some other fighters. We always talk about Mike Tyson because it allows us to run some footage of Mike Tyson hitting some pads, and it always looks so vicious. Oh, I love it so much. His trainer says that he could fight Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, and Deontay Wilder. Jalen, do you think his trainer's just hyping him up, or do you think this is an actual, possible thing that could happen?
I'm going to keep saying this as someone I consider a friend, and as a huge Mike Tyson fan, the legend, the icon. This is the happiest I've seen him, Jacoby, in 20 years. And it makes me feel so good to see him, my brother, living his best life. It makes me feel so good. And I agree with his trainer. He could actually hang because you give a puncher's chance to one of the greatest punchers of all time. But guess what I don't want to see? My friend taking shots from anybody, especially if they fit 20 years younger than him.
I don't want to see that either. Mike Tyson, look forward to seeing you fight Roy Jones Jr. I do not look forward to seeing you fight any of those three men that I mentioned earlier. Moving on, we have an update on the Robert Kraft case. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
We know what he did. We know that, keep it moving.
We keep it moving. We keep it moving.
Jackson State has a new head football coach you might recognize. Keep moving to hit the brakes. Deion Sanders has been hired by Jackson State University as the head coach. What are your expectations for his leadership style?
My expectation is I'm about to be rocking a lot of Jackson State gear and representing for Primal Fear because I'm happy for him. He's going to put on at the HBCU. He's going to make it attractive for people with his resume to want to go coach there. Prospects to want to go play at HBCUs. We hear some talking about it, and we saw a couple of NBA prospects out of high school sign on to do it, and a couple of them considering it, but Deion did it, and I'm really happy for my brother. I'll hit him up to get him on the show to talk about it.
Shout out to Deion Sanders. Moving on, we have the results of Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes.
We'll hit the brakes. Yes. The Lightning defeated the Stars in Game 2 to even up the series at 1-1. Usually I watch every single one of the Stanley Cup Finals games, but you know what? I missed these first two. I'm going to dial in. I'm going to now focus in on the Stanley Cup Finals moving forward between the Lightning and the Stars. Your thoughts, Jalen? You with me?
I just wanted to give hockey some love. National television, during the playoffs, during a pandemic, sacrificing in many bubbles and doing what they got to do to put on for their organizations and their families. So I just wanted to give them a salute.
Jalen, people are buying flights to nowhere. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes.
In the middle of a pandemic, in 10 minutes, Australian airline offered 7-hour flights to nowhere. Again, 7-hour flights that go in a big circle. Jalen, you fly all the time. Why would anyone do this during a pandemic?
So this is a duality because it's a waste of time and money. That's how I feel about this.
It really is. And it's dangerous. I wear a hazmat suit, an N95 mask, and a face shield when I get on a plane. Why would I want to do that for 7 hours? Who is buying this? Who misses the art of flying so much that they want to fly in a circle for 7 hours? If it was 45 minutes and scenic, maybe. No chance is anyone ever doing that. I can't believe this is real. We need to get research on this.